Thinking about taxes and finances and all this stuff. Very diligent, combing through my expenses, combing through my finances, finding that you are not quite sure about your expenses, or maybe you want to have more margin in your business. Sometimes, if you can believe it, the answer is not actually cutting the spending, but figuring out how you can get more productivity out of the spending. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and I do all the things. One of all the things that I'm doing that's really stressing me out right now, not too much, but kinda, is thinking about taxes and finances and all this stuff. As I'm recording this, we are in the throes of tax season, especially here in the US. And so, I'm putting on my CEO hat, and that means I'm being very diligent, combing through my expenses, combing through my finances, thinking about different things that I want to do differently next year so that I can take advantage of different tax breaks and other opportunities that are available to entrepreneurs, which is why I talk so much about starting your online business, because it's very advantageous for you personally, your finances, but also your wealth building journey, etc., etc. But as I have been thinking about my own process and how I'm putting my own CEO hat, I realized that I approach money management much differently as an entrepreneur than I did as an employee. So if you are an employee who is endeavoring to become an entrepreneur, but you want to start putting on that CEO hat now and think about different ways that you can start managing your money like a business owner right now, you're going to love this video because we're getting into it right now. All right, the main thing that I'm realizing as I'm reviewing expenses and thinking about things is that when you have an employee mindset, you're more focused on exclusively minimizing spending, right? It's just like, I'm spending money, I don't want to spend money, let me 100% minimize that spending. But I'm finding that as an entrepreneur, it's not so cut and dry. So yes, as a business, you don't want to have unnecessary expenses. You want to minimize if possible so that you can have more margin in your business. Again, that's the distance between what you are bringing in and then what you are spending in order to bring that money in. But it's not so cut and dry. In fact, you're focusing on how can you maximize the ROI of your spending. So again, as an employee, you're focused almost exclusively on minimizing your expenditures or your spending. But in business, you're focused on how can I maximize the ROI of my spending. And I noticed that this is something that I've had to really think critically about and kind of outline as I look on my spreadsheets, because if you do a knee-jerk reaction of just oh, I'm spending money on this thing, I don't want to spend money on it, I'm gonna cut it. Understand that in your business, everything should be an investment, right? So you have to ask yourself, what does that affect? If I cut my spending in this area, is it actually going to reduce my revenue elsewhere? And so if you're finding that you are not quite sure about your expenses, or maybe you want to have more margin in your business, sometimes, if you can believe it, the answer is not actually cutting the spending, but figuring out how you can get more productivity out of the spending. And in fact, if you're on YouTube, there's another YouTube that I recommend you follow. I've read all his books. He's a New York Times bestseller, great financial guy. His name is Garrett Gunderson. And so what I'll be speaking about next is kind of loosely based on Garrett Gunderson's philosophy. But I remember I read his book, Killing Sacred Cows, years ago, before I was even an entrepreneur. I want to say back in 2015. And it really changed how I think about money. But particularly when it comes to entrepreneurial spending, entrepreneurial tracking your finances, there's kind of 4 categories that Garrett has you put your finances in. And I find just naturally as an entrepreneur, I find myself looking at my finances in this way. And so the first is the destructive category. And so the destructive category is essentially, what are those expenses that you are spending in your business that don't do anything? It doesn't help you move forward in your business, is providing no value to you. In fact, it's actually destructive. It might be hurting your business or hurting you personally in some way. And so this could be things like bank overdraft fees. It could be subscriptions that you're paying for that you're not actually using. Think about what are the things that are actually destructive, and those are the expenses that you do want to eliminate. So I say that is kind of similar to how you would look at things as an employee. You would simply look at your budget and say, oh, I'm not using this gym membership, I should probably cancel or go, right? Because I'm actually not using it. Well, it's no different in your business. Actually look at things that you're spending money on and ask yourself, what is destructive? What should I actually be removing from my business? But the next thing that you want to look at, and I find that this is where I'm spending a lot of my time when I'm looking at my finances in my business, the next category, you want to ask yourself, what is actually productive? And so that kind of speaks to what I was talking about at the top of this video, is everything doesn't necessarily need to be cut. Some things just need to be made more productive. Productive meaning what is actually giving you ROI. So I think a very easy to understand example might be something like advertising, right? A lot of online entrepreneurs spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, or rather Meta ads, and Facebook ads ain't cheap, okay? It's very expensive to use Facebook ads, especially now because everybody's on Facebook ads and kind of the price of them have been bid up. But for a lot of people, it's like, oh, this advertising expense, like it costs too much, I just want to cut it. But the question is, instead of cutting it, because it is productive in the sense that it's getting you in front of your ideal target market, your ideal audience, and it might be generating some sales. Are there things that you can do in your business to make it more productive? So maybe we don't want to raise the cost of the ads, but is there something we can do where we can get more bang for our buck, where we can get more sales from the ads, or we can get more exposure, or what have you, right? So you want to look at what you're doing and see how you can make it more productive rather than simply, eliminating the expense. Now, in addition to, you have your destructive expenses, you have your productive expenses, you also have your protective expenses. And I find that this is something that oftentimes people who have an employee mindset around finances struggle with when they get into business. So protective expenses are those expenses that are actually going to protect you and your business, right? So there's things like insurance, liability insurance, or insurance on property if you have real estate or anything like that. If you have cars, vehicles in your business name, obviously you need insurance on them. But also you want to think about maybe service providers or professionals that you are hiring. Your attorney is a protective expense, right? Your CPA is a protective expense. In fact, I would even say business coaching can be both. It could be a productive expense and a protective expense, in the sense that it's productive in that you're going to learn strategies and different things that are going to help you grow your business and earn more, but it's also protective because it keeps you from making mistakes that maybe you would make had you not had that guidance. So you want to look at the different categories of spending and also ask yourself, what is going to protect me and what is going to protect my money from ultimately being wasted, or from, heaven forbid, receiving a lawsuit or getting audited from the IRS and things not being what they need to be, and then me, incurring all these penalties and all these other expenses. Again, there's protective expenses that you do not want to cut from your budget, right? So again, the employee mindset is like, I'm cutting this. I don't want to spend money on this, and I don't feel like this is, generating money for me. But my question is it destructive or is it protective? Because if it's protective for you, ultimately it's going to allow you to make more money in the long run. So don't cut that expense. And so the last category that you really want to consider, that again, an employee mindset, if we get so budget focused, we don't focus on this. The last category is lifestyle expense. And lifestyle expenses are actually a big part of your business. Now, you don't want to go crazy with this, but you as the entrepreneur do need to have some motivation to get up and show up and do this, right? You don't want to create a business ultimately that you hate. You don't want to create a business that doesn't allow you to live the lifestyle that allowed you to get into this business in the first place. And so again, you don't want to go crazy, and you certainly don't want to overspend in this area. But I find that a lot of employees who are endeavoring to become entrepreneurs, they get so focused on the mindset that they were taught as employees, which is this very kind of like miserly, penny pinching, cut all expenses. And, maybe that was rightfully so, because at that time they did not have control really over their income. They were only paid, what their employer paid them. So they didn't have that autonomy or that ability to go out and generate their own income. But once you have developed those systems, you're in business now, and you do have the ability to generate income, you want to make sure, you actually want to make sure that you have some lifestyle elements in there. Again, you don't have to go crazy. I'm not saying go out and buy a Lamborghini Urus just because it's your dream car, but you don't necessarily have to drive around in a beater either, especially one, if it's something that you can afford. Two, again, that protective expense, maybe your CPA can show you that you'll actually save money on your taxes at the end of the year if you actually do have a business vehicle. And so, there are ways to work it out where maybe you can drive a car that makes you feel happy and excited every day to, kill it in your business, and maybe it won't cost you as much as you think it will because the tax advantages work out the way they work out. Again, that's why you have the protective expense of your CPA, but you want to make sure that you are adding in some lifestyle expenses that give you the motivation and the juice, because ultimately the right lifestyle expenses can actually become productive expenses, in the sense that it makes you so motivated and it gives you, excitement around your business that you end up go out and generating more business, right? Again, sometimes we can get so restrictive because we're still in that employee mindset that we're not spending any money on ourselves. We're not creating our dream life in any capacity. We end up hating our lives, and then we get up and we're like, why am I even doing this? Because here's a hint, running a business is definitely harder than simply being an employee. There's a lot of different hats you have to wear. There's a lot of different responsibilities. And so you wanna make sure that it's worthwhile. So don't be, so much of a miser that you cut out all of the lifestyle expenses, because some lifestyle expenses can be helpful for you and ultimately help you be more productive and be a better entrepreneur. All right, I hope this really changed your mindset. If you want even more money mindset training and just think about different ways to shift your mindset, I invite you to download my free workshop, which is my financial freedom formula. This is a video that I did not too long ago that talks more about the mindset that you need to have in order to be a successful entrepreneur and really to build, wealth from your gifts and talents. So if you enjoyed this video, I know you're gonna love that video. So you can go ahead and get access right now by clicking the link below. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you loved it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure you subscribe to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show. In fact, I've recently batch recorded a lot of podcasts all about kind of the behind the scenes of, business and mindset and CEO and all of that stuff. So if that's of interest to you, you'll definitely love my podcast. It's The Courtney Sanders Show on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure that you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.